Heyo, Plebman here. New hat. It's been too long. And I have not given you episode 7 of the great, horrible, worst show ever. Wheel of Time, episode 7, season 1. Sorry for the delay. There's no justification that I can give you. It was my birthday. I was given this beautiful hat that does have plaid on it by a great friend of mine. And so we're just going to bang into it because I did rewatch it. I had seen it before and I rewatched it again because I am a masochist and I like torturing myself. So this is what we're doing. You have to excuse the lighting. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just figuring it out as I go. But here we go. All right. So in the very beginning, I'm not going to get into all the nitty gritty. You've already, whatever. Hopefully you've not seen the show, but if you have, then whatever. Read the book. That's all I can say. But in the very beginning, you get this chick. She's fighting, and she's the maiden of the shield, whatever. She's a maiden, and maidens are pretty badass, like, if we're being honest. If we're calling spade a spade. So if she's a maiden, then she would be very badass. However, she's like 9 months pregnant plus, and also giving birth. Now, in all fairness, while the book doesn't go into great detail about this specific incident, technically speaking, this person who gave birth to Rand was there at that time during the battle that was going on between the Aiel and many other armies. So this is hypothetically plausible, okay? Except I call a great level of BS because you have this very pregnant woman, which against the Aiel customs, she was allowed to be still fighting, which is an interesting thing, and that's fine. That's part of the books. But then she's there, like, and killing, I think 6 or 8 dudes, fully armored, with, like, very little issue. And I'm not trying to be disingenuous, but, like, it's a bit ridiculous. Like, it would be ridiculous just a woman doing what she did. Like, just in general, it would be hard to fathom. But to double down on that, they're like, oh, but here's an extra one. She's not only a woman who's tiny and small and petite, but also she's pregnant and giving birth right now. Like, pregnant and also giving birth. Like, basically, the baby's breached, the water's broke, like, yeah. So it's weird because part of me was like, oh, cool. That's an interesting version of what could have happened. I don't think that's what happened at all. I think that the writers wanted to basically dial up to fucking 25 the awesomeness of Rand's mom, the awesomeness of women, the awesomeness of the Aiel. And I don't think it was the Aiel. I just think it's of women. And be like, see, women can do all these amazing things. Look at how amazing women are. And I'm like, yeah, bro. Like, yes, women are amazing. Frankly, if you have to tell me how awesome you think women are, you're doing it wrong. Because when I watch Alien or Aliens, I'm not thinking, oh, wow, yeah, Ripley's amazing. I'm just watching it and, like, awestruck at how she overcomes impossible odds given the circumstances and how it makes sense given the circumstances. But what they've done is, like, pigeonholed and force you to be like, see, she's so amazing. And I don't like it. It feels disingenuous to me. So anyways, it's so dumb. They're good, but they're not that good. Like, even a standard Aiel taking on 8 armed dudes just by themselves is doable, but very unlikely. Like, without them being severely messed up. Like, it's just, nah. Okay, and at the very end, there's this person who's there, and, like, part of me was hoping it was Lan, but then you realize it's not Lan. And I was like, okay. But initially when I watched it, I was like, oh, I hope that's Lan. That'd be interesting. Not that Lan was there at the battle, but it doesn't make sense for him to be that guy. So I like what they did with it. But I kind of also liked how they didn't show who it was. Like, I did appreciate that surprise. I don't want to ruin it, but yeah, I that was cool. Okay, so you can use powers in the ways. There's no reason you can't, like, just to kind of shift over. For starters, the ways, the setup that they have is, like, so wrong. It's so fundamentally not the way the books are at all. It's, like, tremendously upsetting. And the way they have them go over there, and the ways are just, like, over here in the middle of nowhere. And then there's these little things that are kind of basically untouched. And I'm just like, that's okay. That's not really how I imagined it at all in the books. And frankly, not how it was really described in the books. Like, where in the books, it's just this beautiful thing. It almost looks like it's like a door of vines that's frozen into place and made of stone. And then you remove one specific leaf, and then the door opens into this portal that you can traverse through. And they really didn't do that at all. And then they're there and they're like, hey, here's some rules. Like, you can't use the power. It's just like, no, you can. You shouldn't, because of Machin Shin, the dark wind or the black wind or whatever. And it just felt like super duper forced to me. But I mean, this whole season has felt forced and just overlooking amazing things to just, let's go through with the story so that we can get into bullshit stuff that isn't there in the books and just pad out. Like, we'll skip all the good stuff and then we'll just get to this stuff that we made up, is what the show single-handedly feels like it's trying to do. And it's so very frustrating. So this was so hilarious to me. Like, the actor who plays the character of Matt, he left at this point. So Matt doesn't go with him into the ways, which is unfortunate because the character of Matt is there in the ways and through the rest of the season. And to me, I don't know what happened. I'm sure he signed a really fat NDA. But to me, if it were me, I could totally see myself playing the character of Matt and reading this and being like, this is not anything like the books. This series is disingenuous. It seems so, fake and whatever. I'm not interested. And I could see that happening. Anyways, I need to progress. So sorry. Okay. So basically, because Matt left, they're like, we have to do this thing. We're going to not have Matt and the rest of it, and then we're just going to continue on with the story. And that's why it is the way it is. But the way, and to their credit, it made it almost seem as if, like, they intended it that way. But I don't know. All right. They actually play blah, blah. There's no lightning in the ways. It's just dark. So it's just, that's one thing, like, dramatization of, like, there's lightning. And it's like, no, it's quite the opposite. It is pitch black. You can see absolutely nothing whatsoever unless you have light. And then I was kind of curious as to what kind of torches they have, and that they brought torches. And I was like, okay, magic torches, but not magic, because you can't use magic in the ways, but you can, but you're not supposed to. But they didn't really explain that. Okay, so Moraine used magic to open the ways, and that's not how you open the ways. And then somebody's following them, supposedly, but you have to use magic to use the ways. So then who's following them? And we find out later who's following them. That person doesn't have access to magic. So it's kind of weird because they'll, like, lie about one thing and not the other. And it's like they don't understand that there's a reason why the lore was built. Robert Jordan kind of knew what he was doing and made it so that it worked. When you change things and then don't fix the change or don't, like, account for the change, it's problematic. And it goes to show that these writers either don't care about the substance or they're just lazy and don't, like, make it work. I don't know what it is. Whatever. They're overpaid and shouldn't be doing what they're doing. All right, so now we get into like, oh, hey, blah, blah, blah. The Machin chain comes to them and they get out of the thing. And it's like, okay, cool. Now they get into the city. They survive. And she's like, hey, blah, blah, blah. Like, don't listen to any of that, whatever. I have to reiterate, because I hadn't watched it since I originally watched it. I hate this continuation of like, oh, each one of them could be the person. Like, from the beginning of the episode, each one of them could be the person, including both of the women. And I'm like, no. Sorry, full no. The Dragon Reborn is a male. Like, has always been, will always be, throughout eternity. That's just the way it is. Brigitte Silverbow, which is another character who comes through history, is always going to be a woman. Like, just is going to be. But they don't think about it that way. They're just like, see, these two females are so awesome and powerful and amazing, so they could be the dragon too. And it's like, that's not the lore. That's not the story. Make your own fantasy BS world thing if you like. Don't tap into mine, because I don't like it. And it's just wrong. It's so annoying. All right. So then there's no builders. Like, no ho builders. Like, there's no... When the Ogier comes through, everyone would be like, oh, the builders, ho, the builders, ho, the builders. Because the builders, his people, came through, and a long time ago, they built the fortifications. Part of the reason why they've withstood it for so long. So when you don't have that, it kind of takes away. I also don't like that for the Ogier, they have like this weird voice thing, that modification that they're doing. I feel like they either should have chosen an actor who could do the vocal necessities, kind of like with an audiobook, where you listen to the people doing his voice and it sounds and it fits and it's wonderful, as opposed to this modification of like, oh, we're gonna like tremble it and make it weird. And I'm like, you know, no, you've already made it so fake. Maybe you could have something pseudo real. Hire an actor who can like have that gravitas. I'm not knocking the actor who played him. He did okay, but it's just like, it's weird to me. I don't like it. It makes it more fake than it already is, which is bad. Which is bad. You're already bad, guys. Don't make it worse. So then they meet like the lord of this area, and he's just rude. Like, he's total aggro, like, I know what I'm doing. I'm super awesome, blah, blah, blah. And it's totally the exact opposite of how he is in the book. And it only strikes me as, hey, we need to downplay dudes again. We need to downplay this guy and make his sister seem awesome. And that's the only value to that. There's no value in making him look like a twat other than making his sister look awesome. And to me, if you have to do that in your show or your movie or whatever, that you're doing it wrong, and that's not okay. And it's not conclusive to the story. It doesn't play into anything. It just makes him look like a twat, and it totally changes the dynamic of everything. And it's so unnecessary. It makes Moraine look good. It makes Nynaeve look good. It makes the guy's sister, Aglamar's sister, look good. And she's like a tiny little speck of a character. Not that she's not important, but she's barely significant at all in anything. And you just, suddenly she's super important. It's like, oh, okay. Fine. We're just making women awesome and men do assholes. Got it. Okay, cool. Yeah, why is every dude an ass or subservient? And his sister wasn't power trained. Why do all the women give sexual vibes? Okay. Then there's this thing where Moraine talks to the sister, and she's basically sicking the red Aja on Matt, which is so extra and totally not Moraine and not something she would do. Moraine is a woman who has plans within plans within plans. So it's weird to me, and it's so out of character and just made up. It's made up. It's not part of the thing. It's like, whatever. Okay. And then, right. So you just like you died, Nynaeve. No, Padan Fain can't be alive. The real quiz. Why would he be over here? Yeah. So the real question is like, so he sees Padan Fain, and then like, why would he be dead? She doesn't know that he's dead. She's just assuming. And then by that logic, Nynaeve should be dead. So, okay. But then on top of that, it's like, well, okay, how the heck would he be there at the same time as them when he was behind them? Like, if anything, he'd be 3 hours behind them. So in the book, they explain it. He, like, comes in later, and it's, like, a bit of a thing. But they just, like, no, he's there. And I'm like, no, okay. Okay, so we are introduced to Min, who is a really significant character in the whole story of this book series. And we're introduced to her here, really far away from where we're actually introduced to her in the story, in the books. And our introduction to her is like she's some 25, 26-year-old woman, however, whatever age. And she's like a totally disgruntled, annoyed barkeep who's being basically threatened, bribed, but really threatened by Aes Sedai, like, hey, I'll reveal your secret, and then you'll probably be burned at the stake if you don't do what I say when I say. Which is totally not Min, and is totally not Moraine. Like, Moraine would never say that, and Min would never stand for that. She'd be like, cool, bye, bitch, I'm out. Sorry, I shouldn't say that, but, like, I'm out. Like, nope, I'm not going to be blackmailed. I don't need to be at this bar. I can be at any bar in the world. I don't have to be here at your beck and call. So it just is so extra, so BS, such a non sequitur, unnecessary justification that the writers plugged in. And then we get into a thing where Min has been like coerced into looking at and seeing things of these people. And for starters, all the visions are garbage. Okay, they all look lame and weird and just like fake and just stupid. Not part of the books at all. And secondarily, they're also like way too clear and make sense. Whereas every time Min has a vision, it's not necessarily, if you were to see it, it wouldn't make as much sense as when Min will say, oh, that guy will get married. And it's only because she's had a lifetime of seeing, oh, this type of symbol, this way, with this thing, means that guy would get married. So the way they did it was like, hey, for simpletons, we're just going to show. And also the thing, like, oh, Rand's going to have a baby, and Perrin has golden eyes, and blood here, and then White Tower. And the other thing, it was like so nebulous and so like writers doing a bad job, and it was so upsetting, and the visual and the verbal, it was just wrong, okay? Anyways, moving on to the next thing. There's a 4-person scene between Rand, Nynaeve, Egwene, and Perrin, and it's just total CW bullshit drama, and I hated it. Oh, and then this whole time, by the way, in case you didn't know, Perrin likes Egwene. In case you were not aware. And it's like, yeah, nobody was aware. I mean, Perrin was married as of like, I don't know, a month ago. And he supposedly killed his wife. He killed his wife. And all of a sudden, he's like, oh, I've had fond feelings for Egwene this whole time. And it's just so CW, BS, like Twilight, 3 people loving, drama. It was so not called for, so unnecessary. There's so much significance and importance in this story to like water it down to this BS romance is so not okay. It's just unacceptable. Anyhow, it just upset me. The writing is just so bad. Listen to audiobooks, read them if you can, but listen to them. They're wonderful. What I kind of already talked about is like they waste so much time with the bad scenes, and then when it comes to like good stuff, they don't have time for it anymore. They've wasted so much. They literally waste like 3/4 or half of the show on these scenes that don't need to really be there or could be super condensed. And they just let. So I know it's a dumb thing, but like Lan would have his gear set in a way so that it doesn't make noise as he moves. He is a master. Think of Aragorn from Lord of the Rings, but probably even more. He is like Aragorn, whereas Aragorn has his humanity and is a penultimate hunter and killer. Lan has kind of lost his humanity as a person, as an individual, and is just like a stone cold killer, hardened steel, no like laconic speech in everything that he does, everything that he says. And there is an interesting moment, which I don't like because it's not in the book and it's not relevant, shouldn't be there, when he has dinner and has this like beautiful moment with a past mentor. And I feel like it would have been better if like him and the mentor sat and like conversed as men would do. But otherwise it kind of made like Lan a little bit too human and too raw and real. And then this other thing of like, I am not feeling the love between Lan and Nynaeve like at all. It doesn't seem to be there. Chemistry doesn't seem to be there. But then like she's there and then they have dinner and like, oh, he's so awesome and he's great with kids. And then they just fall in love, and then there's this awkward like, okay, good night. And he goes in, and then she comes in like 2 minutes later, and then supposedly they have sex and she's going to leave. And I'm like, okay, we don't need to Game of Thrones this. Like, and they're trying to like do the soft PG-13 version of Game of Thrones. Like, they had sex, but we're not going to show you. And I'm like, they didn't have sex. Just PG it. They didn't have sex. It actually makes it better. It makes the sexual tension better because clearly he wants to. Clearly she wants to. But she comes from a traditional area. He comes from a traditional area. So maybe they're like, well, we should be married. But like, you basically belong to Moiraine. And you, Nynaeve, are a wise one. So you don't really get married. So we really can't do this. So we shouldn't even do the sexy time. Because we're aware that, hey, we don't have condoms. Sexy time means you could be pregnant, and then that would be irresponsible. And while these things are not expressly in the book, like, I don't know, maybe in the book they do have sex. But I never got that they did. I actually never got that Rand and Egwene had sex, because they didn't. They kiss. Maybe they cop feel now and then, but like they never had sex. But based on the show, they make it seem like, yeah, they've been boinking for quite some time. And it's just like, that. What? No. I mean, in all fairness, in the show, they're making them like 20. Whereas in the book, they're like 16, 17. So there's that. But I would prefer if you just keep it so they're being traditional. But whatever. Oh, wow. Okay, and by the way, if Lan has sex, Moiraine would feel it, like expressly. She would basically be feeling everything that transpired. So another reason why they wouldn't do that is Lan's like, yeah, no, I can feel everything that Moiraine does, including her bowel movements, so we should not do this. But whatever. Oh, yay, Rand goes over to Min and like, ta-da, yep, he's the dragon because deduction. Bullshit. The book, man, is so much better. Just acting-wise, I'm not trying to knock the actress, but like the character that they gave her is just so garbage and not good. Okay. And of course, Moiraine and Rand go alone because that makes zero sense. Like, why would Moiraine, on the most important mission of the world, not take her warder with her, her supporter, the person who's got her back? Like, that doesn't make any sense at all. It just totally bananas and stupid. And like, frankly, just because Rand says a thing doesn't mean it's true. So, like, because Min didn't say, oh, yeah, you are the one. Min just didn't answer the question. And Rand's like, cool, it's confirmed. I'm the one. And no, Moiraine would still, first thing in the morning, take everyone, just in case. Because, hey, if he's wrong, then why not have these other people? So the whole thing doesn't make sense. Anyways, that's it. That is Season 1, Episode 7 of Wheel of Time. I love you all. Plaid Man out.